Hi again then guys, and welcome to the very first circuit tune, of course, from GT Sport 1.50, and we're kicking off with the RUF CTR3. Now there are of course a number of different tuning styles that you could do for this car: drag, top speed, circuit build, maybe even a cash cow build depending on the race. I've opted to go for a circuit build first of all, and we might revisit the car in future anyway. Now, you do not have to keep this tune in N400, even though that's where I've done it, because as with almost all of my N-Class tunes, it's designed to give you an idea of what it can do, but you can by all means increase the power if you want to. Now, as far as what this can do in N400, I will spoil it a little bit and say that it is not the fastest N400 build that I've done. However, it's actually the second fastest, second only, somewhat ironically, behind a Porsche, the 997 GT3, which I tuned as well. Now, as far as the tuning goes, the upgrades specifically, as you can see, I have dropped the weight. As far as power, you don't need level 5, because lowering the power doesn't change the category, so level 4 is all I would recommend. That allows you to take it down to 441 horsepower, which is the most you can have in N400, but as I said, increase the power if you want to use it in a different category. As far as traction control, that is turned off, of course. That depends on you. You know, it's all about personal preference. For the tyres, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you build a car to be good on racing tyres only, then chances are it will be trash on sports tyres. Whereas if you build a car to be good on sports tyres and then allow it to have racing tyres the other way around, it could end up being even better. So, of course, if you want to put racing tyres on it, by all means do so. This just shows what it can do even without that advantage. Now, as far as suspension, we've got it 5mm higher than the lowest on the front and the back. For the frequency on the springs, we've got 2.40, again, front and rear. For the anti-rolls, 7 and 6. Some people might find those to be maybe a little bit too stiff, so lower that if you want to. We've got 58 on the compression, 86 on the rebound. Then as far as camber, I've opted for 1.5 degrees, as you can see on the front, and then 2 degrees on the back, with a neutral toe angle as well. It does have some downforce, of course, with the active wing, but you can't adjust that. As far as the diff, again, with a car like this, you can by all means change it. Even if you just want to mess around and see if you can find something that works better for you, or if you already know settings that you prefer, by all means combine it with this and make like a Frankenstein tune. So I've gone for halfway, as you can see on initial torque, and the lowest acceleration and braking along with that. And finally for the gearbox, again, I will stress this particular gearbox is just for N400. So if you do give it more power, you will want to change the gears. Now, as far as how those gears go, you want, of course, the fully customized transmission. Auto setting of 205 is what I've got. Then for the individual gears, 2840, 1950, 1475, 1175, 975, and 835, with a final drive of 3.575. So that's the rough idea for N400, and of course with most of these tunes it's more about the handling and the grip, and then you can adjust the power and the speed as necessary. So what you want to see, of course, is what can this actually do, of course, in comparison to my other tunes. Well, as I said, of course, it can do a lot. Second fastest behind my Porsche 997 generation GT3, and I actually think that's pretty impressive, because if you think about it, this car has had a much more significant drop in power. In other words, it's far more severely neutered than a Porsche GT3 is, because that car has nowhere near this kind of power to begin with. This is close to a 700 horsepower machine. Now, I will say that the handling does not make it viable for instance, lobbies on really tight circuits. I would strongly recommend keeping this car on as wide open tracks as you can. So stuff like Monza, Le Mans, even the Nürburgring, which is actually more wide open than many people think. That is where a car like this will shine, where it will flourish, and where you'll get the best use out of it, because even though it's N400, it's still very quick in a straight line. So of course, if you do decide to use this tune, obviously, I hope you have a ton of fun with it, win plenty of races with it, and of course I'd love to hear down below if you retune it for a different category. Do you find that it works better for you in maybe N500, for instance, maybe all the way up to N700? And of course, if the overall handling benefits you, because I know many people were having some trouble with the handling on this car. Safe to say, you won't find it slippery anymore. If anything, it could be the opposite. You might find it a little bit too heavy, which, if you know my tunes, you know that's kind of the deal. That's how I tune many of my cars, because I believe that understeer is easier to predict and deal with than oversteer. So that's it for this build. Of course, if you want to check out my others, I've done literally hundreds of them for drift, drag, circuit, top speed, everything you can think of, so click the playlist here on screen to see those. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.